Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Elijah, an ancient prophet from Israel, stands as a beacon of unwavering faith and divine power. His life, marked by extraordinary feats and miraculous interventions, showcases God's sovereignty and the incredible potential of steadfast belief. Confronting idolatrous kings, calling down fire from heaven, and raising the dead, Elijah's story is a testament to the profound impact one individual can have when devoted to God's commands. Through droughts, miracles, and divine encounters, Elijah's journey reveals the enduring power of prayer, the importance of obedience, and the ever-present guidance of the Lord. This narrative explores Elijah's remarkable life and legacy. In ancient Israel, there lived a prophet named Elijah, whose extraordinary feats and divine powers marked him as one of the most significant figures in the Hebrew Scriptures. Elijah's life was a testament to unwavering faith, divine intervention, and supernatural abilities. His story, filled with miraculous events and profound messages, continues to inspire and awe people to this day. This narrative explores Elijah's journey, his miraculous deeds, and the divine power that enabled him to outrun chariots and even defy death. Elijah hailed from Tishbe in Gilead, a region east of the Jordan River. His prophetic mission began during the reign of King Ahab, a ruler who, along with his wife Jezebel, led Israel into idolatry by worshipping Baal, a Canaanite god. This idolatry provoked the wrath of the Lord, who sent Elijah to confront the king. Elijah's first significant act as a prophet was to declare a severe drought in Israel, a punishment for the nation's sins. He boldly proclaimed to Ahab, "As the Lord, the God of Israel, lives, whom I serve, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word." Following this proclamation, the Lord instructed Elijah to leave and hide by the Cherith Brook, east of the Jordan. Here, Elijah experienced the Lord's provision in a miraculous way. He drank water from the brook, and every morning and evening ravens brought him bread and meat. This period of isolation and divine sustenance reinforced Elijah's reliance on God. However, as the drought persisted, the brook eventually dried up. The Lord then directed Elijah to go to Zarephath, a town near Sidon where a widow would take care of him. Upon his arrival, Elijah encountered the widow gathering firewood. He asked her for a drink of water and a piece of bread. The widow, however, was in dire straits. She had only a handful of flour and a bit of oil, barely enough to prepare a final meal for herself and her son before they starved to death. Despite her desperate situation, Elijah assured her, saying, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you have said. But first, make a small loaf of bread for me from what you have and bring it to me, and then make something for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour will not be used up and the jug of oil will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." The widow trusted Elijah's words and did as he instructed. Miraculously, the flour and oil did not run out, and they had enough food for many days. This miracle demonstrated God's provision and faithfulness, reinforcing Elijah's role as his prophet. Sometime later, the widow's son fell ill and died. In her grief, she questioned Elijah, accusing him of bringing her sins to God's attention and causing her son's death. Elijah responded with compassion. He took the boy from her arms, carried him to the upper room where he was staying, and laid him on the bed. Then, Elijah cried out to the Lord, "Lord my God, have you brought tragedy even on this widow I am staying with by causing her son to die?" He stretched himself out on the boy 3 times and prayed, "Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him." The Lord heard Elijah's cry, and the boy's life returned to him. Elijah then carried the boy downstairs and presented him to his mother, saying, "Look, your son is alive." Overwhelmed with gratitude, the widow declared, "Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord from your mouth is the truth." In the 3rd year of the drought, the Lord commanded Elijah to present himself to King Ahab once again, promising to send rain upon the land. Elijah set out to find the king, and on his way, he met Obadiah, the king's palace administrator. Obadiah was a devout believer in the Lord, and during Jezebel's campaign to kill the Lord's prophets, he had hidden 100 of them in 2 caves and supplied them with food and water. When Obadiah saw Elijah, He bowed down to him and asked, "Is it really you, my lord Elijah?" Elijah replied, "Yes." "Go tell your master, Elijah is here." Obadiah was terrified. He explained to Elijah that Ahab had been searching for him in every kingdom and nation. Each time a ruler claimed not to know Elijah's whereabouts, Ahab demanded an oath that they had not seen him. Obadiah feared that if he told Ahab that Elijah was there, and then Elijah disappeared, Ahab would kill him. Elijah reassured Obadiah, saying, "As the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, I will surely present myself to Ahab today." Obadiah went to meet Ahab and informed him of Elijah's presence. Ahab went to meet Elijah, and upon seeing him, accused Elijah of being the cause of Israel's troubles. Elijah responded boldly, "I have not made trouble for Israel, but you and your father's family have. You have abandoned the Lord's commands and have followed the Baals. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table." Ahab summoned all the Israelites and the prophets of Baal to Mount Carmel. There, Elijah confronted the people, challenging them to choose between the Lord and Baal. He said, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal is God, follow him." The people remained silent. Elijah then proposed a test to determine the true God. He instructed the prophets of Baal to prepare a bull and place it on an altar, but not to set fire to it. Elijah would do the same with another bull. They would each call on their God, and the one who answered by sending fire would be acknowledged as the true God. The people agreed to this challenge. The prophets of Baal prepared their bull and called on their God from morning till noon, shouting, "Baal, answer us!" But there was no response. They danced around the altar they had made, but still there was no answer. At noon, Elijah began to taunt them. "Shout louder," he said. "Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened." They shouted louder and slashed themselves with swords and spears, as was their custom, until their blood flowed. Midday passed, and they continued their frantic prophesying until the time for the evening sacrifice, but there was no response. No one answered. No one paid attention. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come here to me." They came to him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord, which had been torn down. Elijah took 12 stones, one for each of the tribes descended from Jacob, to whom the word of the Lord had come, saying, "Your name shall be Israel." With the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord, and he dug a trench around it large enough to hold 2 seahs of seed. He arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces, and laid it on the wood. Then he said to them, "Fill 4 large jars with water and pour it on the offering and on the wood." "Do it again," he said, and they did it again. "Do it a 3rd time," he ordered, and they did it the 3rd time. The water ran down around the altar and even filled the trench. At the time of the evening sacrifice, Elijah stepped forward and prayed, "Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again." Then the fire of the Lord fell and burned up the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the soil, and also licked up the water in the trench. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, "The Lord, He is God! The Lord, He is God!" Elijah then commanded the people to seize the prophets of Baal. They were taken down to the Kishon Valley and slaughtered there. After this, Elijah said to Ahab, "Go, eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain." So Ahab went off to eat and drink, but Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel, bent down to the ground, and put his face between his knees. "Go and look toward the sea," he told his servant, and he went up and looked. "There is nothing there," he said. 7 times Elijah said, "Go back." The 7th time the servant reported, "A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea." So Elijah said, "Go and tell Ahab, hitch up your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds, the wind rose, a heavy rain started falling, and Ahab rode off to Jezreel. The power of the Lord came on Elijah, and tucking his cloak into his belt, he ran ahead of Ahab all the way to Jezreel. Elijah's journey did not end there. Despite his victories, he faced threats and challenges that tested his faith and perseverance. Jezebel, enraged by the death of Baal's prophets, vowed to kill Elijah. Fearful for his life, Elijah fled into the wilderness, where he despaired and prayed for death. But the Lord provided for him once again, sending an angel with food and water to sustain him. Strengthened by this divine provision, Elijah traveled 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. There, in a cave, Elijah encountered the Lord, not in the powerful wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a gentle whisper. The Lord reassured Elijah, giving him further instructions and reminding him that he was not alone. There were still 7,000 in Israel who had not bowed to Baal. Elijah's ministry continued with further demonstrations of God's power and justice. He anointed new kings and a successor, Elisha, who would carry on his prophetic work. Eventually, Elijah's time on earth came to an extraordinary end. As he and Elisha were walking together, a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared, and Elijah was taken up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elisha witnessed this and cried out, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel." Elijah's mantle fell to Elisha, signifying the passing of his prophetic authority. Elijah's story is one of profound faith, miraculous events, and divine encounters. His life serves as a powerful reminder of God's sovereignty, provision, and the extraordinary ways he can work through those who are faithful to him. Elijah's legacy endures as a testament to the power of prayer, the importance of obedience to God's commands, and the assurance that God is always with his people, guiding and sustaining them through every trial and triumph. Elijah's life and ministry illustrate the remarkable power of faith and divine intervention. His story, filled with miraculous events and unwavering dedication to God's will, serves as an enduring testament to the strength found in obedience and prayer. From confronting kings and false prophets to experiencing God's provision and miraculous deeds, Elijah's journey showcases the profound impact of a life devoted to serving the Lord. His legacy, passed on to Elisha and remembered through generations, reminds us of God's constant presence and the extraordinary ways he works through his faithful servants. Elijah's narrative continues to inspire and uplift, demonstrating that with faith, anything is possible.